fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The air crackled with emerald energy, a byproduct of the impossible. Illyrian Moonwhisper had done it. I had pierced the veil, torn a hole in reality, and opened a gateway to something else. Not a world, not a realm, but a blighted stain on the tapestry of existence. The portal shimmered before me, a pulsating wound in the smooth stone of the vault. On the other side, a landscape of perpetual twilight unfolded. Twisted trees clawed at a sky choked with ash. The ground, a festering carpet of fungal growth, seemed to breathe with a sickly internal rhythm. And the stench of gods, the stench was enough to claw the lining from your throat. A metallic tang of blood mingled with the cloying sweetness of decay. My hand trembled as I reached for the activation rune, prepared to sever the connection, to bury this horror back where it belonged. I had dreamed of discovery, of opening pathways to new allies, new knowledge, new sources of magic. Instead, I had unearthed a plague pit. But before my fingers could make contact, it happened. A blur of motion, a ripping sound like canvas tearing, and a creature of nightmare emerged from the portal. It was vaguely canine in shape, but swollen, corrupted. Vesicles pulsed with virulent fluids beneath its rotting hide. Spores, like motes of black dust, puffed from its body with each ragged breath. It wasn't an animal, it was a vector. The beast let out a gurgling roar and lumbered towards me, leaving a trail of glistening ooze on the vault floor. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the silence. My magic surged to life, but fear choked the carefully constructed spells in my throat. "Damn it all," I whispered, pushing down the panic. I had to think, had to act. This creature, this thing couldn't escape the vault. The vault was the heart of Elvenwood, the repository of our most precious artifacts, our most potent magics. If the spores spread, Elvenwood would fall. I hurled a bolt of pure arcane energy, a searing lance of light that struck the beast square in the chest. It staggered, momentarily stunned, but the wound quickly began to heal, the festering flesh knitting back together. Whatever corrupted this world had also granted its inhabitants a grotesque resilience. This wasn't going to be easy. I needed help. I shouted a quick order into my sending stone. "Rorik, sound the alarm, vault breach, bring the guard." But I knew the guard would take too long. By the time they arrived, Elvenwood could be lost. My hand flew to my sword, the slender blade of elven steel that had been my companion for centuries. It wouldn't be enough. The beast was too strong, too resilient, but it was all I had. As the beast lunged again, I sidestepped its attack, the fetid breath washing over me. The spores clung to my skin, a crawling, suffocating sensation. I felt a thrill of cold fear. I couldn't hesitate. I had a duty. I had to protect my people. Our battle was a dance of desperation in the hallowed halls of the vault. I dodged and weaved, parrying the beast's clumsy attacks with my blade, while conjuring spells with the other hand, shielding myself with glowing wards, firing blasts of concentrated energy. The air grew thick with the stench of the beast and the ozone tang of my magic. Finally cornering it near one of the ancient relics, a powerful staff that should never be used without the express permission of the Elder Council, let alone for a beast like this, but Rorik ran in, sword drawn. Rorik Stonehand was my opposite in every way. Where I was slender and quick, he was broad and powerful. Where I favored magic, he relied on brute strength. He was the captain of the guard, my closest friend, and the man I had secretly, hopelessly loved for centuries. He was also furious. "Lyrian, what in the name of the Green Mother is going on here?" he roared, his voice echoing through the vault. "Close the door, Rorik, now," I yelled, deflecting another swipe from the beast. "Seal the vault. This thing is from another world, a blighted world. Its spores are deadly." Rorik hesitated, his eyes widening as he took in the scene. The creature, the pulsing spores, the unnatural stench he understood. He slammed his shoulder against the vault door, activating the ancient locking mechanism. The heavy stone ground shut with a deafening rumble. "Lyrian, you can't be serious," he exclaimed, turning back to me, his face etched with concern. "I am," I said grimly. "I opened the portal, I have to close it, but this beast, it has to die first, and then I have to ensure the vault is cleansed of the spores." He charged toward the beast, giving me room to breathe. "I'm not leaving you to do this alone," he roared, his greatsword meeting the monster's diseased flesh. Together we fought, Rorik, a whirlwind of steel, and I, a conduit of arcane power. Slowly, painstakingly, we began to wear the beast down. The spores continued to spread, coating our skin, filling our lungs, but we fought on, driven by a desperate hope, a fierce determination to protect our home. Finally, with a combined effort, we brought it down. Rorik plunged his sword deep into the beast's heart, and I unleashed a final, devastating blast of magic. The creature convulsed, let out a final, strangled gurgle, and collapsed into a heap of rotting flesh. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by our ragged breaths. The spores still hung in the air, shimmering in the dying light of the portal. Rorik sheathed his sword and turned to me, his face streaked with grime and sweat. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice rough with concern. I shook my head. "The spores there already affecting me. It won't be long until it's impossible to be near me." "Then what are we going to do?" I looked at him, my heart aching. "There's only one way. I have to destroy the portal and cleanse the vault, and the magic it will take will kill me." Rorik stared at me, his eyes filled with disbelief. "No, there has to be another way." "There isn't," I said softly, "and you can't stay here. You have to get out, tell the council what happened, warn them." "I won't leave you, Lyrian," he said, his voice thick with emotion. He took a step towards me, reaching out to touch my face. "You have to," I said, tears stinging my eyes. "Elvenwood needs you. Please, Rorik, don't make this harder than it already is." He looked at me for a long moment, his eyes filled with a mixture of grief and determination. Finally, he nodded. "All right," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "I'll go, but I swear to you, Lyrian, I will find a way to save you. I will find a way to break this curse." He turned and walked towards the vault door, his shoulders slumped with despair, but before he reached it, he stopped. He turned back to me, his eyes blazing with a newfound resolve. "Lyrian," he said, his voice clear and strong, "I know this isn't the time. I know we're about to die. I know this is probably stupid, but I can't die without you knowing. I love you. I think I have for a long, long time. I'm sorry I never said it. I never thought I had a chance with a mage like you." My heart stopped. Rorik loved me. After all these years, a smile touched my lips, a fragile blossom blooming in the face of death. "I love you too, Rorik," I said, my voice trembling. "I always have." He took a step towards me, and in the light of the dying portal we kissed. A desperate, bittersweet kiss, a promise of a love that would never be. Then he turned and left. The vault door rumbled open, and he disappeared into the darkness. I stood alone in the vault, the spores swirling around me, the portal flickering weakly. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and gathered my magic. It was time. I reached out to the portal, focusing all my power, channeling every ounce of my being into the task. The air crackled with energy, the ground trembled beneath my feet. The portal began to shrink, to collapse in on itself. But it wasn't enough. The blighted energy of the other world fought back, resisting my efforts. The portal pulsed, growing larger, threatening to overwhelm me. Then something broke, a sound that was like a scream of the land, a groan that shook my very bones. I felt a searing pain in my chest and watched in horror as the spores began to take root in my body. I needed to release the energy, finish the cleansing spell, or the world would be lost. My hand found the staff. I lifted it, my last act, and slammed it into the floor. Power rushed through me, raw and wild. I couldn't control it, but I didn't need to. All I needed to do was release it. I screamed, and the vault began to glow white hot as the power purged everything, inside and out.